Hey folks, I'm Charlotte and you're listening to the White Mountain Sound. Today, I'm joined by Ben and Brandon Ross from Hobo Wizard based out of Hillsborough, New Hampshire. How you guys doing today?
Hey, doing good. What's up?
Happy to have you guys on.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So, just as kind of an introduction for anybody listening out there, I wanted to ask, how did all this wizardly business get started? You know, you guys have a very distinct sort of sense of lore and storytelling about the band, and I was curious what the origin point of that was.
Yeah, so I started the band initially. My buddy Mikey was playing drums, and we started just like jamming in his garage in the middle of the winter in the cold. And actually, our song "Times Keep Getting Harder" is basically like the actual story of the year before I started the band. I ended up homeless, like lived in his backyard, and then ended up getting a place to live, but hanging out and playing music with him, and that kind of started things off. And then he had other things going on, so I was able to rope my brother into playing drums again. Yeah, that was kind of like the very very start. And then I think it was the second show that we ever played. It was at a like a camp out little festival thing way up north, and my buddy Mikey couldn't make it, and that was when I got some people to help me convince Brandon to play drums for me. And yeah, we I showed him a couple of the songs, and we basically improvised like a 45-minute set.
So you guys are brothers and you're in this band together, and I did want to ask a little bit about that too. Have you guys played music together before Hobo Wizard? Is this keeping with tradition for you, or was this kind of a new form of collaboration?
Yeah, I mean, we played a little bit here and there. Brandon's 11 years older than me, so he taught me how to play music when I was little, and then kind of got me into playing drums and listening to heavier stuff and all that. And we lived super far apart for a lot of years. Like I lived out of the country for a while, and then out west, and so there was a long time that we didn't really get to hang out much or play together at all. And then when we did end up back here in New Hampshire together, I got him hooked into doom metal, and I kind of went from there.
Right. I've seen that you guys are sort of carrying the flag of Bum Doom, and indeed, I do believe I'm speaking with the lords thereof. So I wanted to ask where that came from and what that kind of entails for you guys.
Yeah, I think you got the story on where we got that name.
Yeah, the what Ben was saying, the first show that I played, I got roped into it. After we played, like you said, it was at a big camp out thing, and like it was late at night. Everybody was drinking, having fun. Then the next day, like, so one of my friends came up and was like, "I didn't know I needed bum doom in my life." We're like, "What the fuck is bum doom?" he was like, he was like, "That's what you guys do. It's like doom metal, but like, bums." Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he was like, it's just like grimier.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, call it like you see it, I guess. So it seems like you guys have been playing a lot of live shows recently, and I know you've got some more shows coming up. But how have this most recent round of shows been as we sort of closed out 2025 here?
Yeah, it's been really good. The last few of the year were super fun. We like second to last one, we were up in Essex Junction, Vermont. We got to open up for False Gods, who really rad band from New York City area. That was a super fun show. And then the last one that we just did was at Henniker Brewing with a bunch of our friends, Street Trash, Crooked Cash, like dude, hell yeah. And it was pretty packed in there.
Pretty wild.
So yeah, it's been going really good. And we've always kind of leaned heavily on the playing live part of things, because especially when we started out, like we didn't have money to go record. We didn't have any of the like real equipment or anything yet. So we kind of just existed on reputation of like being loud and ridiculous.
Yeah, we didn't really have a place to practice either, so we like booked shows so we could like practice things.
That's the way to do it. You know, you go in, you just feel the vibe. And I think, you know, from what I've seen and heard from you guys, definitely there's a a spontaneity there that I think you really embrace.
Yeah, we definitely try to. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's a handful of our songs that are mostly written out, but there's some room here and there to kind of push and pull with them, or if you get in a groove and everybody's having a good time, keep it going for a little while longer, which is super fun. And it's also like especially playing live, playing off the energy of the room. Like if people are really into, one thing or another, and being able to kind of work with that is really fun.
That most recent show in Henniker Brewing Company, that you guys are visiting there again, not too long, isn't that right?
Yeah. I think we'll be back up there. I'm not sure for sure when the next one is, but there's a festival coming up there in the spring at the end of May that we're going to be playing. There's like 20 something bands on there from all over.
Wow.
Uh, but yeah, it's May 29th and 30th. Backwoods Metal Fest is up there. That should be a really good one.
Sweet. And that's pretty local for you guys too, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like 15 minutes up the road from my house.
Yeah, like 20, 25 minutes from my house. So yeah, that's a good one.
Speaking of being local, something that had come up in sort of our chatter before we hopped on the call today was the idea of trying to bring bands to New Hampshire, and so I was curious to have you guys speak on that a little bit and what you mean about the value thereof.
The music scene up here, there's a fair few bands around, and there's a lot of people, but that are really into heavy music, but they're pretty spread out. It's like us, a lot of people just live out in the woods. For a while, there hasn't really been a central place. It's kind of like here and there, there's stuff going on. And I know over the last couple of years that we've been doing more stuff and getting to know more bands from other places. We've definitely made it a point to try and like help set up shows. And I know I've talked to a lot of people at some of the shows that we've done where with bands from further away. Like we had Thunder Chief from Virginia up here on tour, and we were playing with them up in Portland, and they asked if we could help set up a New Hampshire stop for them. And a bunch of people came out to that show and were super excited to see, a band from somewhere far away, basically like in their backyard almost. And they're like, oh, it's nice to see that, the stuff that we're into isn't just a bubble over here. Like there's more to it if you get out there, or if you're able to connect the dots with that bigger scene. It kind of helps build more of a community.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that, and definitely, as a music fan who's been living in New Hampshire for a while now, I can appreciate the work that you guys are doing to you know bring more and more cool bands here. I think it's always a plus to be able to, like you say, have that opportunity of seeing cool music right in our backyards.
Totally, yeah. That like Brandon said before, it's nice to not have to like make the trek all the way down to Boston or Rhode Island or wherever. Uh, Because like that's cool to do once in a while, but it's also a lot of the people that are into heavy music and into doom stuff. We're all pretty working class folks, so if the show's on a weird day, it's like everybody's still got to be up in the morning, so you can't necessarily make that trip, even if it is a really cool show. So it's nice to be able to loop some of those bands into being able to come up this way.
Yeah, it's mostly just self-serving. We're just lazy. Like we don't want to go to places. Like, how do we bring like bands here instead of like going other places?
I mean, who could blame you, right?
Mhm.
I feel like that's the classic thing,
Yeah.
bands just breaking their backs, cramming into a van or whatever and trying to get to everywhere in the world. And it's like at the very least there's got to be some push and pull, especially when you're in a state like New Hampshire that doesn't necessarily have one of those huge spots that everybody wants to come to. Sometimes it's nice to have people come and visit us. Another sort of recent happening I saw was that a little while ago you guys were working on getting your stuff off of Spotify and sort of standing in solidarity. This has been kind of a larger movement, including some very high profile artists like I think probably most famously Neil Young and many others who have done the same. I wanted to just sort of hear your piece on that and what kind of went into making that decision for you guys.
Yeah, that's definitely one that, like, had, like you said, some high level things had been going on about that, and you know, a lot of other bands either started to pull their stuff, or like our friends in Dope Throne from Canada, they never had anything on there. So when everybody started pulling their stuff, Vince was like, yeah, that's why we didn't put anything on there, because we knew it wasn't going to end good. A lot of our music stuff, like the community part of it, is trying to give people an outlet for things, or relatable things. And like we say, a lot of our songs are just about life. And when there's something like Spotify that's specifically not paying the majority of people, the people that they are paying is like barely anything, while the couple people at the top make millions of dollars. That's just like the opposite of trying to help anybody out. And then with everything else that went on with them, with putting millions of dollars into funding things to go kill people around the world, we were like, yeah, that's the opposite of everything that we're trying to do.
Yeah, we had a pretty extensive meeting about it, making that decision. Ben came, like, we were at band practice, and Ben was like, what do you think about taking stuff off Spotify? And I was like, yeah, fuck that. Fuck Spotify. That was it.
Yep. And then the next day I made a call. On
So yeah, it was about a 0.3 second meeting.
Decisive. I like it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of how we ended up at that. And we were like, there's a lot of avenues for people to find music if they want to. So, you know, getting out of that one isn't going to take it away from everybody. There's still plenty of ways to get it. There's just better ways to do it.
Right. Yeah, you guys are pretty active on Bandcamp, right?
Yeah, that's been a really great platform, and that's something. Some of those bands, like I mentioned before, that stayed away from Spotify had leaned pretty hard into the Bandcamp side of things, so they were a lot of help in me trying to figure out how to kind of run that, and that's been a really good platform because you can do merch and all that stuff, but it's much more like personal feeling than just like throwing it out there, because like you can interact with people a lot more there.
Yeah. Well, like you said, community and the value of prioritizing that. I think that's a great example. One of the big things that I've been very excited to talk a little bit about is one of your recent releases that I've been sort of having on repeat a little bit recently is Doom University, which is a release of a radio live performance that you guys did at WUNH, the college radio station at the University of New Hampshire. So I wanted to ask about that and just sort of how that came to be.
I had reached out to the radio station there a while ago. We got asked to go play on the radio down in Lowell, and that kind of got the wheels turning for us of like, oh yeah, that's a thing that's out there that we hadn't really thought about. Again, leaning into we really like the songs having life and being able to go and play them, and they're a little different every time. And we really lucked out on that one. That David, who runs a lot of their stuff there, when we got there, we were talking with him, and he was like, "Is it cool if I, record all of this and then, like mix it after and send it to you guys?" Because he does, plays music and does sound engineering stuff there. And he was like, it would be really fun to get to mix your guys' music and get some practice on something other than like my band, where I know every song inside and out. And you guys have a different tone and a different feel, and it would be awesome to get the practice to work with that. So obviously we were like, yeah, that would be awesome. Absolutely. And he did a hell of a job making it sound really good. And that's something that's part of why it's Doom University Volume 1, is that's something that we want to continue doing, is connecting with different college radio stations, around New England and hopefully further at some point. And, everybody gets a cool album out of it, but also people get experience and are able to grow their craft along with it.
Yeah, definitely props to David. I think, from what I'm hearing, it sounds great. I think that you guys have this, again, just this super full tone and just sludgy and kind of nasty. And I really like all of the kind of radio talk segments in between tracks. I feel like it really, it adds to what you sort of describe about this very real feeling that it gives off.
Yeah, that was something we kind of went back and forth about of like, do we leave in the talking parts? Do we
Mhm.
just put out the songs? Like, what's people's attention span going to be? And we kind of landed on, like you said, this is the whole story. And a comment that we've gotten a lot of times playing shows live, was that people really liked that we would take a couple seconds and kind of give a backstory of the song before it started, so they had an idea what it was about.
The way we play together is like it's us playing together. So I never wanted to record an album where like all the things were recorded separately in separate rooms, separate days. Like if we're gonna record something, it's gonna be us playing together live. Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to be manufactured.
Yeah, so that's like one of those things like we're not like we're not like classically trained professional musicians yet. Um so it's like our thing is us being able to play off of each other and play together. And that's why, like, especially the longer songs that we do that are kind of jammy or whatever, they're never really the same because the feel is different, the sound is different, the room's different.
What is next for Hobo Wizard? What are you guys looking ahead to, as we march into 2026, uncharted waters? Anything from new music, new shows, new anything. What's coming up?
Well, I know we've got a couple shows. We got, I think, one right now on the books. We got one down in Boston. We got one up in Maine. We got that festival in the spring. I know end of the summer, we got asked to head all the way down to Florida for something. So there should be some more info on that soon, but we're planning a run down the East Coast and back up, beginning of fall kind of time. We did record a studio album. Like Brandon said, it was still like us playing together, but it was in the studio. Our buddy Tim is an insane sound engineer and invited us to come play at the place that he works. At some point, there'll be a full album coming out, probably later this year, would be my guess.
Awesome. Well, we will definitely be on the lookout for that. Um, is there anything else that you guys want to add? Totally, open mic for you guys. Any other wizardly business you wanted to speak on?
If you want to do music stuff, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it. Like, just go try it. Pick up your stuff. If you don't know how to play, I don't know half the notes or chords that we play to anything. I just know how to play it. If you have an idea, pick up a thing and start making stuff. Even like gear wise, we have piles and piles of like cabs and amps and stuff now that we've collected over the last bunch of years. But also, most of that stuff came from Craigslist and Marketplace, and we just learned how to like wire speakers and fix it.
Yeah, most of it was broken.
Yeah, most of the stuff we got cheap and broken. So like, if anybody wants to get into making music or they have ideas running around in their heads, just go do it. Like, just start.
Couldn't agree more. Very well said. Thank you guys so much for joining me. To everybody out there listening, this has been Ben and Brandon from Hobo Wizard, and I've been Charlotte from the White Mountain Sound. And thank you so much for listening.